Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world one book at a time. This episode uses the film Psycho as a case study to examine how narrative trust is constructed, violated, and rapidly repaired.
So let's get right into it. Before you can even begin to figure out what a story means, you first have to implicitly agree to its rules. That agreement? That's what we call narrative trust. And it's not just some vague feeling. Think of it more like infrastructure. It's the solid ground you need to be standing on before you can even start to make sense of the view. Now, the reason we're looking at Psycho is because it's so incredibly deliberate about this process. It spends its first act carefully building this system of trust, making us feel like we're in a very conventional, very familiar story. It's basically teaching us how to watch it and what we should expect. So how does this infrastructure actually get built? Well, most of the time, we operate on a few core assumptions we don't even think about. Like, the main character's journey is the whole point. Their goals are what drive the story forward, and the rules of the world won't just suddenly change. Psycho leans into these expectations hard. It uses everything in its toolkit, from pacing to point of view, to make us invest completely in its system. Because without that trust, the betrayal wouldn't have any real power. And you can feel the film building this really strong, predictable momentum. We've got our main character, we understand her motivations, and we think we know exactly what kind of movie we're watching. A crime drama maybe? A story about a woman on the run? We get comfortable. We feel certain. And then, the rupture. And this isn't just some shocking plot twist. We're talking about a total narrative collapse. The film doesn't just change course, it completely invalidates the entire framework it just spent 40 minutes teaching you. The story you thought you were in just ceases to exist. The ground completely disappears from under your feet. And here's the most crucial point. What collapses in that moment isn't just a character. It's a fundamental rule of the story. Our perception is totally destabilized because the very system we were using to make sense of everything is suddenly, shockingly proven to be worthless. The how-to manual for watching the movie is broken. But what's truly fascinating, and really the film's true subject, is what happens next. It's about the mechanisms the story uses to immediately re-anchor our perception. The system's number one priority is continuity. It's about getting things moving again, not about reflecting on why it all fell apart. This recovery protocol is almost procedural, like a checklist. First, the narrative immediately reallocates our attention to new characters, so we aren't left floating in uncertainty. Second, it brings in authority figures, a detective, a psychiatrist, to create a feeling of institutional order. And third, it gives us a final, neat explanation. These aren't tools for understanding. They are mechanisms designed to terminate our discomfort. And that perfectly explains the function of the final psychiatric monologue. It doesn't really deepen our understanding of the horror, does it? Its real purpose is to stop the confusion. It gives us a tidy little box to put all the chaos into, allowing the system of narrative trust to reset so we can leave the theater feeling stable again. You know, a great way to think about this is like a computer crashing. The shocking event is the blue screen of death. That final explanation, that's just a forced reboot. It doesn't fix the underlying bug that caused the crash. It doesn't explore why it happened. It just gets the machine running again, restoring basic functionality. And this is the core insight Psycho reveals about us, the audience. Narrative trust always comes back because we need it to. Trying to interpret a world without rules is completely exhausting, so we'll accept almost any repair, no matter how crude, as long as it restores a sense of coherence and lets us start making sense of things again. This whole process shows how easily reassurance can feel like understanding, but they're not the same. Real understanding requires you to wrestle with ambiguity and depth. Reassurance just requires stability. It just wants the discomfort to end. Psycho is a masterclass in showing how quickly a massive disruption can be absorbed and almost forgotten as soon as order is symbolically restored. So in the end, the movie isn't really asking why violence happens. It's asking a much more unsettling question about our own minds. After the system has so completely and utterly failed us, why are we so incredibly eager to trust the very next explanation and just believe all over again? For the full long-form deep dive into this topic, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books, films, or topics you'd like us to explore next.